Hi, welcome to Agriculture Summit Africa 2022, a two-day conference tagged Engineering a Trillion-Dollar Agricultural Economy, powered by Sterling Bank. It's the largest private sector-led conference on agriculture with focus on how the agribusiness sector can further unlock value and accelerate growth and transform Nigeria into a trillion-dollar economy. I am Precious Destiny, and of course, this is Corporate Farmers Media. Welcome on board.
Sterling Bank, in collaboration with Leadway Assurance Company Limited, Nestle Nigeria PLC, Microsoft Nigeria, Gerawa, Thrive Agric, Giz, Stress Data, No Takafu, and MasterCard Foundation organized the 5th edition of the Agriculture Summit Africa 2022 with the theme Engineering a Trillion-Dollar Agricultural Economy. The event brought participants from across the African continent, physically and virtually, with a number of speakers and panelists to discuss topical issues around the agricultural sector, from policies to investments around the sector. Sterling Bank PLC, Nigeria's leading commercial bank, has said there are massive opportunities in the agricultural sector of the Nigerian economy for those who are prepared to work hard with a clear vision and commitment. The chairman of Sterling Bank, Asue Ighodalo, noted the essence of the summit and its importance to the Nigerian economy on his welcome address.
Good morning. Once again, on behalf of the board, leadership, and staff of our bank, I am honored and delighted to welcome you to this year's edition of the Agriculture Summit Africa, otherwise known as ASA. Now in its 5th year, ASA remains a signpost of our commitment to the agricultural sector, one of our 5 sectors of specific focus in the bank's HEART strategy. HEART stands for Health, Education, Agriculture, Renewable Energy, and Transportation. Before we proceed, I would like to thank most sincerely our esteemed partners who have recognized the significance of a forum such as the ASA in creating a strong platform for deep discussions on how we develop our agricultural sector and catalyze a critical, economy-enhancing and rapid growth-stimulating segment of our economy. We are deeply grateful for your immense financial, technical, knowledge, support over the years. At our summit this year, we'll draw detailed attention to the opportunities that abound in Nigeria's agribusiness economy. This thinking inspired us in the choice of our summit theme. Our theme this year is Engineering a Trillion-Dollar Agricultural Economy. This theme dovetails into last year's, which was Building a New Agro-Order. This provides a strong linkage between the synergies and necessary steps required to scale the agricultural sector and establish it as the bedrock and driver of our economic growth. Every developed country jump-started its development by building and growing its manufacturing industry through the process of adding value to its agricultural products. In addition, it has also become a critical imperative that we increase the quality and yield of our production, achieve food security, capitalize on trade opportunities within the African region, and thereby hasten our climb towards economic competitiveness and prosperity. Accordingly, this summit will focus on effective implementation strategies, more on the how, more on identifying viable processes, and identifying who will take responsibility for the implementation of its strategy and the achievements at each milestone. We will draw inspiration from the path trod by nations who have taken the deliberate step to fulfill their economic potential. Our speakers and our resource persons at this summit are all masters in their field who are also known achievers. Our sessions will focus on 1. Eliminating the country's reliance on imports to meet our food, raw material and agricultural produce needs. 2, the need to unlock even more growth in Nigeria's agricultural value chain, financing, as well as permanently solving the massive problem of post-harvest losses. 3, achievable technologies that will enable us improve crop yield and crop performance significantly, so that we can do much more with less physical efforts. And 4, the possibility of establishing another layer of value beyond immediate consumption and exports by developing systems that will treat agro-commodities as an asset class through trades and exchange. We remain, embarrassingly so, a net food importer, and today we only export primary raw materials with minimal value. Sadly, in 4 years, our food imports have increased fourfold, causing massive pressures on our foreign reserves and thereby also exporting our jobs. As a nation that seeks economic growth urgently and food security, we must reverse this trend immediately. At Sterling, we see massive opportunities for those devoted to taking the available opportunities and those prepared to work extremely hard with vision and commitment.
The conference started with a keynote address from a representative of Rabobank and a goodwill message from Lagos State Honorable Commissioner of Agriculture, Ms. Ruth Abisola Olusoya.
In the coming weeks, we're going to hopefully announce a very broad and deep partnership with Sterling Bank, but I will leave that up to Sterling Bank when that moment comes to communicate it, but we have really a lot in the works when it comes to our partnership with Sterling Bank.
This summit and the title, the theme, I think it's coming at a very important time in our history, both as a country and globally. If you consider what is happening generally across the world, over 8 million people die of hunger every year. That is roughly about 20,000 people per day. It means that food is critical. It means that there is scarcity of resources around how food is produced. And obviously it shows that we need to do much more than what we are doing today. To engineer truly a $1 trillion economy would require capacity building to the highest. Like I said, the Japa mentality is so ingrained in our youth now, particularly, that it's so scary to imagine that someone that maybe you're having an interview with today and you actually employ into the workplace, by next week the person may actually be jackpotting out of Nigeria without your knowledge. Nigeria did not just wake up one morning and decide to be in the state that it is in today. It is just a collection of each of our values put together in a large pool, and we are where we find ourselves today. So engineering this economy is not impossible. Like I said, the opportunities are abundant, and it is only in a space where you have opportunities that you actually have the likelihood and the probability of being a great person. I'll leave you with this. As the world becomes more dire, as we face more issues, particularly around climate change, as geopolitical wars escalate, as issues around floods, droughts, famine, insecurity persist, there's only one way out for us. And that one way out is for us to build our resilience as a people. And we can start that by transforming our food systems. Remember, a hungry man is an angry man. An angry man will stir up strife. Strife will stir up conflict. And conflict can escalate to wars. And when there is war, life is gone.
Agriculture has been projected as one of the major driving forces of Africa's economic resurgence, complemented by a growing interest in the continent's natural resources. With the economic recession Nigeria is currently grappling with, there is consensus across board that there is no better time to leverage the potential of the agriculture sector, not just to pull out of recession, but to diversify the economy and place it on the path of sustainable growth and development. According to the first panel session moderated by African farmer Folu Mogaji with the topic Unlocking Growth in the Era of Value Chain Finance, noted the importance of a sustainable means of exportation, processing raw materials, availability of funds in the value chain, standard production from the farm to the selling point, protection of local company by the government as the economy is growing from oil to soil.
Well, one of the things that was discussed and was submitted is that we need to have like various standards of entry to be able to encourage small and medium scale. So we should not use the same standard you would use for a company that has 10 million to go into processing with the same company that has 1 million naira or 250. We should have various standards, and that we should stop the copy and paste policy mindset where we bring what works in Europe and subject Nigerians to that. One of the things that came out of that session is the fact that tomatoes that they say doesn't meet global standard in terms of the sugar in it. 25 years ago, that was the same tomatoes that they were packaging in Europe. You know, so if we are using the same tomato now, it's because they've improved. So we should look at standardizing for local demands, what is available, because dollar is even not available again. And one crucial thing also is that we're moving Nigeria from oil to soil.
So the $1 trillion economy in agriculture, I think that even one value chain might give us that. If you look at cassava, for instance, you can manufacture over 200 different products out of cassava as an input. That's just one example. And then we're talking about rice, we're talking about fisheries, we're talking about rubber, we're talking about cocoa. I mean, it's a no-brainer that Nigeria has that capacity, and we're talking about greener pastures. This is where it is, a developing economy. Hardly any of our ecosystems have been tapped, any of our value chains have been tapped. I mean, what am I saying? Have I even talked about palm? Palm oil, kernel, every part of that palm is a product, right? So that's what we've been talking about, and I think it's a great possibility. But maybe what you ask me is, why are we still here? Because we don't see it as that. We don't see where the opportunities are. And that's the value of conversations like what we've had today, to see the opportunities and then to discuss ways of tapping into these opportunities and to discuss how we can unlock this potential that is within the agriculture value chain. Remember, before the discovery of oil, Nigeria's economy was solely built on agriculture. Many economies in the world are solely built on agriculture. The American economy is over 70%, if I'm not mistaken, built on agriculture, right? So I think that, you know, if we begin to look more inwards and we begin to look at agriculture as the new oil, then we'll begin to put in the kind of investment that is needed to unlock the potential. That's what I think that we can do.
I think it's what we're not doing right. There are so many. But then there are so many things we're also doing right. Okay, like we need to do more funding, and I'm sure we mentioned that. We need to be more proactive in taking real decisions. Policies need to be done in the right direction. Young people, youth needs to be brought in. Mechanization, we need more seed, we need fertilizers, we need land to be cleared so that land is available for cultivation.
Absolutely, I think it is. I mean, we have probably like 40 million smallholder farmers in the country, and then thinking about you're able to finance all of those farmers to grow their yields and produce, then we just need to import products essentially. So I think it's possible. I mean, it's a very long game. It will take a couple of years to achieve that. We might have to take it value chain by value chain, focus on crop by crop, but I think eventually we will see the end of it.
The Executive Director of Leadway Assurance Company Limited, Ms. Adetola Adegbari, started off the second panel session with a discussion on maximizing agricultural productivity through sustainable means. Also pointed out investments in forestry sector of agriculture, financing of agribusiness, importance of security in Nigeria, and how to come out of poverty trapping the nation.
Well, I mean, if you look at the composition of agri contribution to GDP, forestry is one area that has been overlooked for a very long time. And forestry is also one of the areas where we talk about ESG, that's environmental, social governance issues, climate change specifically. Forestry is one of the ways by which we can improve our biodiversity. So investment in forestry is actually quite good.
Oh, wow. Big question. I think stabilizing financing for the agri sector will require a number of things. Number one, it has to require some level of flexibility from banks. Banks often say they want to support agriculture, but they have these very plug-and-play models that don't necessarily suit the needs of the people that they're trying to finance. So I'll give you an example, right? With Anchor Borrower Program, which we're very, very privileged to have taken part in with the CBN, it's been an amazing program in large part because of the interest rate. Commercial banks can't offer very attractive interest rates, to farmers because we need long capital, we need patient capital. But the other thing, is that we need longer terms. So, if we get a 6-month loan and we're expected to pay that loan back in full, but my working capital cycle, my cash conversion cycle takes 18 months to fulfill, then a 6-month loan doesn't help me. A third challenge is if I'm really growing, as I say I want to grow 5x, 10x per year, my working capital requirements will grow with my company, and we need to have financing models that are in place to cover not only asset financing, but working capital for growing companies. So you're not just looking at what was last year's revenue, I'm only going to lend you 75% of that. You need to look at what is your next year's revenue going to be, and how do I finance you for that? What are the assets that you require, and how do I finance you for those? So it's just about, not making it one size fits all, but really making it tailored to whatever your partner needs.
For instance, there was a scheme that we tried to do, an end-to-end financing scheme that we tried to do with Sterling Bank in the potato value chain. Everybody understands that potato is a highly perishable crop. Farmers had access. We tried to facilitate access to finance for farmers. Sterling Bank, unfortunately, funding did not get to farmers at the time that it was needed, but within the ecosystem that we created, our partner was able to release the seedlings to the farmers who were able to start multiplying the seedlings before funding actually came. But we still had some challenges within that ecosystem. Insurance from Leadway was able to come into place to help to respite some of that situation.
Insecurity, already what we have in Southwest, I'm really familiar with the Southwest. So Southwest are more like informal farm settlements, like farm villages. You have them stay together in a particular place, their life is there, they have schools, government-built schools and government-built hospitals, and then they plant almost the same crops in those communities, But this doesn't solve the problem of insecurity, For example, it may solve some problems such as, access to raw material. You can easily access raw material when you have them like that in cluster, etc. But from my experience, for example, in the ongoing insecurity trend, in Southwest, it seems to be quite deep in terms of kidnapping of farm owners, factory owners. For example, where our factories are located in Oyo State, Gambari, Ogbomoso, we have 8 factories around us. We are the only one operating now. All of them have shut down and left. They have workers, they have had to lay them off and close down the factory and leave.
Well, there are a number of challenges. I wouldn't really address them as right or wrong. I would just say challenges that we're facing. One of the challenges is, as have you seen, there's a lot of smallholder farming. Large-scale farming is not, quite common. There are people who are aggregating smallholder farmers to do large-scale farming, which is good. But the key challenge that has been mentioned is also security, as you've heard. So perhaps there's also need for investment, in community security and community development, because the more we're able to take care of our communities, the more we're able to respond to the needs of people, the better we are in terms of security overall, even if we have to supplement government efforts.
Moving on, from the invention of a cultivator to the development of GPS-driven precision farming equipment, technological advancements have had a significant impact on agriculture across time. Using technology to remotely monitor and control farm operations to make them economical and sustainable is an added advantage. Elabai Udrahai, the account executive of Microsoft Nigeria, started off with a presentation by looking at technology as the art of the possible as it continues to evolve. This panel discussed focused on disruptive technology and agriculture, a convergence of innovation, with emphasis on global challenges facing agriculture, which includes farmers' livelihood, food production, and environment. Also, engaging customers, empowering farmers, optimizing farming system and marketing, as the need for technological adoption in the agri sector cannot be overemphasized.
We need for data. We need data, data, data. This is like an old song being sung repeatedly in Nigeria, that we don't have the right data to inform most of the decisions we make. Second aspect is we need the right skills. And talking about skills, this can be found in the youthful population we have right now that are so tech savvy, and they could find employment in the agri space using the knowledge and skills, the IT knowledge and skills they have.
Yeah, so I think it has been fantastic and an eye-opener, so to say, and it has really addressed some of the challenges within the ecosystem, which majorly is not talking about the impact of technology and how we deploy technology within the ecosystem as of today. So we've been able to kind of unravel the importance of technology alongside what we are getting as the output majorly from primary production.
It's quite enlightening. I mean, I was able to learn a lot of things from my co-panelists. I new technology and the vision, and it kind of aligns with what we are doing, because the idea is for us to grow the ecosystem and to ensure that the farmers are the real beneficiaries of this boom.
Now, the MD of Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, Akeredolu Ale, discussed and laid emphasis on the importance of recognizing commodity trading platforms for traders and buyers of agro-commodities, standardization of Nigerian agri-ecosystem, and impacts of commodities exchange, with a deep concern of the future of commodity market at heart. Ms. Eleo Ihua as the moderator of the last panel session with the title Agro-Commodities Trades and Exchange, the Path to a Valuable Future. The discourse centers on a better understanding of the commodity exchange in Nigeria, grain requirement and storage capacity, engaging private sector in storage investment, and to maximize existing storage capacity and investment opportunities in the agro-commodities sector.
I think that it has evolved, and each year keeps getting better. Interestingly, I've been following it for the last 5 years. This year, fortunately, I was invited. I've been invited in others, but this year I was invited to be a part of the panel. And I think that the unique thing about it is not just the organization. It's in terms of two things. Number one, the content, and number two, what they are trying to address. I think over the years, what they've been able to do is to identify critical pain points around the agricultural ecosystem.
And finally, we have been spending a lot of time building a Oh, absolutely. I have been reminded, I don't know how I could have missed out one of our most valuable partners, North Chakafu. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Tribe Agri. Thank you very much. We are proud to be part of the Tribe Agri story. At some point, someday, hopefully they will mention us as one of their secret sauce. But I'm happy and proud to be part of their story. The last comment I was going to make, and like I said, I don't want this to be a prolonged speech, is that we've invested a lot of money in building the Nigerian Farmers Radio. And for those who have not heard about it, the reason we built the Nigerian Farmers Radio is that we realized that a young man with a smartphone on his hand has many more times the quantity and quality of information that the farmer in the village has access to. And some of this information are critical, like information about the weather. When are we going to have a flood? When is it going to rain? information about the quality of seedlings, information about market and access to market. So we thought if we could reduce that gap by democratizing the information that is available online, this is a valuable national asset. But this is still early days. This is an asset that needs to become available to more people. And so at some point, we'll be donating this asset again to an industry, non-for-profit platform, so that we can all co-invest in it and make information available to farmers so that our farmers can be as productive as the farmers we have in the other countries that we compare ourselves to. Because again, when it comes down to it, the lack of productivity is not just about input and financing, it's also about the information. So one of the commitments we're making, we're going to commence the process, and we'll be inviting all of you to be part of the stakeholders in the ownership of the Nigerian Farmers Radio, so that again, it is bigger than Sterling. Nothing will please us more than for everything that we've done to be adopted by the industry, to be owned by the industry, to be sponsored by the industry, so that irrespective of who stands here tomorrow, whether the person is a lover of agriculture or not, the programs, the platforms, the assets, the intellectual property will continue to expand to the benefit of Nigerians at large. So finally, let me thank every single person who sat down in this room and across all the rooms across the world today to listen to this conversation. And more importantly, let me thank all of you who are going to take on the challenge that I've laid out to become a part owner of the Agri Summit Africa going forward. I think after 5 years or 5 editions of running the Agri Summit Africa, we've reached a point where it is now an industry asset. So it's now beyond Sterling Bank. We had 10 other sponsors outside Sterling Bank this year. And we believe that by next year, it will now be entirely about the industry, not just about Sterling Bank. That maturity is what we've always sought. We now have a situation where all the various stakeholders in the agri value chain are now supporting the summit, and hopefully they will be directing the summit soon.
And with this, we've come to the end of this amazing 2 days Agriculture Summit Africa 2022. This is the 5th edition organized by Sterling Bank, in thanks to Sterling Bank and its organizers who brought this event together to ensure that the agricultural sector in Nigeria is standardized for international investors. And my name is Precious Destiny, reporting live for Corporate Farmers Media. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.